Talking with crowds, connecting with an audience. What do you say? How do you get a response that you're looking for from your fans? Today on Danny Robertson Music, we're going to talk about 3 types of things that you can say to your audience to encourage a reaction and invite a response. So, let's dive in. Welcome to DannyRobertsonMusic.com, where we want to help you become the best possible performer that you can be on whatever stage you choose to perform. I'm your host, Danny Robertson, and I want to thank you for joining me on this one today. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. So the topic we're talking about is talking with crowds, relating to crowds, finding things to say that will encourage a response or a reaction from your crowd. I know that a lot of times when we're on stage, the heat of the moment becomes a situation where you either get forgetful or nervous about saying something or uncomfortable, or in my case, sometimes ill-prepared, or even not interested in talking. Like sometimes you just want to play the music and not engage with the crowd. It happens to all of us. There are times where we are just on our A game, and there are times that we just don't want to be a part of it. So we're just going through the motions. The trick is, though, is that interaction between the performer and the audience in the way of words, talking with your crowd and getting a response from your crowd, that is what ultimately creates participation from your audience so that they want to be involved with your show. And if you do that over time consistently, that creates a loyal fan or a loyal fan base. The key to this is always talking to your audience and always doing it in a way that encourages participation. So today we're going to talk about 3 things that you can do to encourage participation, 3 types of things that you can ask or say. And one thing that most of us already do that, quite frankly, most of us could do a little bit better. So the thing that we already say, let me pose a question to ask it this way. Every time you're on stage or every time you see a show, the performer gets done with their first song or their first couple of songs and they go to speak with the audience. And what is typically the first line that everybody says? Can you think of it? So how's everybody doing tonight? Yeah, that is pretty much the most oversaid line in the history of performances. And the thing is it's a good line. It encourages participation. It asks the crowd to react to the performer in a way that lets them get to speak back to you. But what most of us do is we ask that question and then we move on to the next song. So what I'm suggesting in this is that we turn that into more of a full conversation. So expand on that. I actually talk about this a lot in my Onstage Fundamentals course. It's basically you're giving the audience an opportunity to speak or react or participate. And so what you can do with that same line is something like, how's everybody doing tonight? Who's seen us before? Who's been to one of our shows? Who's been to this venue before? Who's ready to dance? Who likes insert artist? Like, who likes Michael Jackson? We were thinking about playing some Michael Jackson tonight. You guys interested? Getting the audience to react and participate more is always the key with all of this. So learning to ask a lot of questions and then creating a statement that gets some kind of reaction from the audience, something that gets them to either get up and dance or move or scream back at you, anything that creates a response, anything that you can do that gets your audience to respond to you is going to help you create a show that connects better with your audience. So that's one that we already say is, how's everybody doing tonight? I would encourage you to find 2 or 3 second and third steps to ask the audience and try to transition that properly into your next song so that you're getting something out of the audience at that point. The 3 things that we can say that most of us don't do particularly well is, number 1, you can ask questions or make statements that are about you, the performer, or the venue. That is really useful. People don't necessarily know about you if they've never seen you before, or possibly the venue that they're at. So comments like, who has seen us before? Show of hands. Or, have you guys been to this place before? This place is awesome. Look at the lighting. Look at the stage. Have you tried the food? That kind of thing. You can introduce new people into your band. A few years ago, we had some transitions in a band that I was in where I was choosing to exit, and we were bringing in a different instrumentalist to take over on what my role was. And we had a lot of conversations with the audience about who he was and why he was coming in. So they got to know him before he was really a legitimate, finalized part of the band. A big one that a lot of bands and a lot of performers forget to do is, does anybody know where to find us? Do you know where to go for the next gig? Do you know that we have a website? Do you know that we have a Facebook account? Do you know that you can find us on Instagram or YouTube? There's all kinds of things that you can do to ask your audience that will get them to listen to you and encourage a reaction and things like that. You want to make sure that you're talking about yourself as the performer. You want to talk about the venue. The second thing that we can do is talk about the event that you are performing for. So a lot of the times, in my case, I've had a lot of history with playing in weddings and corporate bands and special events type of things. So basically, if you have a reason if there's a particular reason why you're performing, you want to bring that up and you want to talk about something related to it. So like, for example, how beautiful is this wedding? The bride is gorgeous. Don't you guys agree? And the groom looks okay too. That kind of thing. You can bring those kinds of things up, and it creates a connection with that crowd that they are emotionally tied to the reason why you're bringing that up. So they will respond to you. You can also talk about if you're performing at a corporate event, I can think of, there was a doctor's group that I used to play a regular Christmas party for, and it was kind of their end of the year celebration for having a good year. And they hired us for 3 or 4 years in a row, I believe, and it was always at this same country club. And we had a great time performing for them because it wasn't a huge crowd in this case, but everybody wanted to get up and drink and dance and have a good time. And so we could always bring up this doctor's group and how great the doctor that put it all together was, and how good the food was at the country club, and loving that they had a great year. You could bring up all these things that encouraged them to respond and participate in the show. The third thing that we can bring up to invite a response from the crowd is bringing up that's something specific to the audience. Questions or statements about the audience. One of my favorites is if you have people that regularly come to the shows, people love to hear their name called out on a microphone. It's the funniest thing. So if there's somebody that you feel that you can call out and talk to on the stage, that's something to do regularly. Like, hey, Jerry, great to see you. I liked your dance move, Ashley. That was awesome. Like calling them out by name gets people to realize that we know the crowd and the crowd knows us. And the ones that are not participating hear that and do start to gravitate towards wanting to be part of that equation. They want their names to be called out. So the more you can engage directly with individuals in your crowd, that works so well to create a cohesive thing that basically everybody feels like they're part of the show. So put this all together. The point of this topic in talking to crowds is that when you speak with a group of people, you want it to do a couple of things. You want it to have purpose. So every time you talk, have a reason to talk. Have something that specific that you want to bring up. And you don't have to have this all pre-planned. You can do this on the spot. You just have to think through it just a little bit ahead of when you actually say it. If you're performing at a mall, you can bring up a store. If you're performing at a bar, you can bring up things like how great their drink specials or their food specials are. Have a purpose to everything you say to an audience. If you mumble through it, it will sound like gibberish. And then secondly, to having a purpose, make sure that it's relatable and or actionable with your audience. So make sure that they have a reason to listen to what you're saying or give them a reason to do something. It creates a crowd that participates and is personally connected to your show. And in turn, that will create more loyal fans long term. So do that consistently and you'll get far with that. I want to thank you for joining this video. It's a nice and short one today. If you've enjoyed this or any of our other videos, could you like, subscribe, comment, anything you want to do with the YouTube channel? I'd very much appreciate it. I'd also love to get your feedback, things you'd like to know about with performing on stage, things that you can do better, things that you'd like to learn about. We will be putting out some premium content with DannyRobertsonMusic.com, so keep an eye on that website. And in the meantime, until next time, I wish you all the best in every performance. See you soon.